All right, it is that time of the week again. We are here for another Asurion Live, and we're continuing our conversation on the connected home, switching gears this week to talk about smart speakers. And once again, I'm bringing in one of my friends. Chris is joining us again this week to talk about some smart home tech. He has a lot of it in his home. Chris, thanks for joining us. How's it going?
Hi, thank you again for having me, and I can't wait to share with you some smart speakers.
You do have a lot of tech in your home. We've talked about it a couple of weeks now. Smart speakers are usually the place where most people start. We've saved it for a couple weeks into our conversation. Why do you think it's a good place for people to start?
You know, it's a great way to start because it's kind of the gateway into being hands-free. Until you get a smart speaker, you're really having to control everything from your phone. And you can do that, by saying, "Okay, Google," or whatever it is. But with a smart speaker, you can put that phone down and you can say it from wherever your smart speaker can hear you. And honestly, its voice recognition is quite good. Over here, I just want to give you an idea. I do have mostly Echoes in my house from Alexa Echoes. And so here's 4 different ones that we put in different parts of our home to give you an idea. And yeah, that's why smart speakers are great.
They are kind of like the brains, the hub, if you will, the brains of your smart home. Most, I think, owners use them to, use them as speakers to play music, to get the weather. But, we actually have a chart that we kind of found that you can, that we're going to try to pull up in a second, but it shows the top uses that people have for their smart home. And one of those is, playing music, listening to the news or things like that. But where we don't have the chart, but we'll get back to the reasons why people have it. There are a lot of ways that having a smart speaker can surprise you, and there are a lot of features that most people don't know about that they can use. Playing music is one, but what are some of your favorite ways to use your smart speaker?
I know my wife loves looking up recipes off of the show, where you can actually see the steps and it can walk you through it, again, hands-free. I love to make calls through it. We check our doorbell, our cameras. We do enjoy the music, and one really unique feature is you can pair multiple speakers together. So you can have your music playing throughout your house. So we actually have it, when we're hosting, we have it play on the back patio and our living room and our dining room. So it really gives us nice host feel that otherwise would be really hard to put speakers and wire through the walls and get to a receiver that you hide somewhere and have to access. This is literally, you plug it in and anywhere you have internet, you can get access to. And the other thing I do want to share
it makes it a lot more DIY. Kind of, we talked last week about thermostats, but you're kind of like DIYing your surround sound with your speakers.
Oh, for sure. And again, it's so easy and flexible, because if I want to put it in some other room, unplug, plug it in over there, and there I have hands-free. I can just call up any song. Where, if you didn't have it, you'd have to go to your receiver. Maybe you had the old, your iPod attached to it, and you would actually go through and dial it in. And over here you can actually see the weather is going. It gives you those weather updates, which is pretty common, and your news. It's cycling through my pictures right now. But I did want to show you, for it being the brains, you can actually click something that says Smart Home, and it gives you a quick overview of all the devices in your house. So I can actually turn on and off any of the light bulbs or anything in there. And on top of people using it for music and blogs and weather, I do want to share this screen with you real quick. This is kind of like an app store, but for skills for your smart speaker. And I'm pretty sure Google has the same, but these are a ton of things for entertainment, for productivity, kids, lifestyle, even health and fitness, that really go a long way into extending your use for smart speakers.
Yeah, that's a great place to find the skills. I know I have a Google Home. On the other hand, I have a Home Mini that I use. And it has, again, also some really fun features. One that I use probably more often than I'd like to admit is the Find My Phone feature. I can say, I don't want to say it, so she does it, but I can say, okay, and her name, Find My Phone, and she'll answer and say, oh, do you want the phone number with these last 4 digits? And then she'll call me, and I can find my phone wherever wherever it is if I lost it.
used
So I think
it
that's
just
pretty
last
great.
night. So
See,
I'm with you. Yeah.
we need these things. They really do help. We have a lot of tips actually for kind of the more fun ways to use your smart speakers. We have it on our blog. We'll put a link up so you can see it and how to get to it. You can see a whole post about some fun and different ways to use your smart speaker, use the virtual assistant part of your smart speaker. I just said that I have a Google Home. You have the Amazon ecosystem, if you will. There's, Amazon's the leading brand. It's followed really closely by Google. You have the Echoes, the Nest Minis, a bunch of different devices. All of them allow you to control your smart home, to play music, to answer simple questions. We get a lot of questions as to which one is better or how do they compare. We're not really in the business of recommending one product over another, but there are differences. Let's talk about some of the differences between the two most popular brands.
Some of the differences are how your profiles integrate. A lot of people use Gmail, me personally too. And so if you have Gmail and all your addresses popped in, your emails and your reminders, your calendar, it's actually a really seamless experience to have it integrated with your smart home. At the same time, I also have all my Amazon stuff and my orders and my music and my entertainment tied into a lot of Amazon services. So that, again, was something to weigh in as far as how I want to access it. And that's something every user's got to kind of play around with to see what works best for them. And then the other part is, what user experience do you enjoy? The interface, the answers and responses you can get, they're all a little bit different and unique. So those are just a few of the things to consider of why they're different and what might work better for each person.
We do also have a post on our blog comparing the two and kind of showing you the differences between the Google Home and the Amazon Echo. So if you want to go ahead and you can look there for more information about that. Arguably, though, and you mentioned it already, one of the coolest features and reasons to own a smart home hub or a smart speaker is to control your automated devices, the other smart home devices that you have in your home by voice command. I have mine set up to do a good morning and a good night, and you obviously have some routines as well. So for this part of the conversation, I want to bring in two more of our friends. Jamie and Mark are going to join us now because they also have a fair amount of smart home devices in their house. So Jamie, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Kristen. Thanks for having us.
And Mark, how are
Kristen.
you today?
I'm
so
good.
happy to have y'all here. I'm glad that you took some time out. I know, Mark, you have some Amazon Alexa Echo devices in your house, and Jamie, you have several in your home. You just moved into a new house. I know that it's pretty outfitted with Google Home devices. Walk us through your smart speakers and maybe some of the decision making that went into which ones you use and where.
Yeah, so we kind of got thrown into the world of smart speakers. About a year ago, we received the Google Home Tower speaker as a gift. And I think not a month later, we had smart bulbs, 2 more Google Minis, and now we have 5 in the house, which, not gonna lie, it's a little excessive, but they all have a purpose. The most recent one that I received as another gift to enable my smart speaker problem is this Google Nest Hub. This one has a large camera. Or a large screen and a camera, so it serves as a security system, or at least within this room, as well as the other functions that any of the other Google Homes do. But I like to have this one in our main living area to act as, the entertaining elements, music, telling us the weather, have all those elements in our living room, as well as the security camera having eyes on our front door and our living area. And in our kitchen, we have a smaller one to cook and view recipes. And there's our 2 minis that we have in our office and our bedroom. And that is our tower that we have in our entertaining family room area. So we wanted that one in that room to to highlight the speaker quality, it has a little bit of a better speaker than the mini. The minis we use for the good night routines and the good morning routines, to control the lights, things like that. And yeah, and like I mentioned, the kitchen one has the little screen so I can see recipes while I cook and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's great. It's like a nice entry point into, you have a new home. You can start really building your smart home from the speakers up, and you can add to it because of you have these Google devices that you already have.
Yeah,
Mark,
yeah.
Mark, you have the Amazon ecosystem in your house, and you have a little bit of different things. You also have a new house, but let's talk about how you have them set up in your house, and kind of which ones you chose and why.
Yeah, so kind of like Jamie, in the same situation. I was first just gifted an Echo a number of years ago, and for a long time it was the only smart device I had in my house. We kept it in the kitchen and used it to set timers when we were cooking or play music when we were having dinner. And then kind of as I started to incorporate more smart devices into my house with bulbs and switches and plugs, I realized I needed to get more. So now I have an Echo, regular Echo in the kitchen. I have an Echo Dot that I use in the bedroom. And then one of the really fun products that I have, which is actually a newer Amazon product, is this right here. I have two of these. It's called an Echo Flex. And the idea behind this is it gives you the full functionality of an Echo device, but it's in a really low profile. It plugs into your wall just like you would plug in an air freshener, and keeps it, you don't need to have a surface to set it on top of. It doesn't have any cables running to it. You can tuck it away against the wall. And it also has this little USB port on the bottom, which allows you to add accessories to it, which is one of the coolest things. So I actually have a motion sensor that I have attached to the one in my garage, which triggers a welcome home routine, which I can actually demonstrate for you right now. I've moved it inside to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, so
show us.
The idea is when it detects the motion, it turns on my lights and it plays some nice welcoming music for me when I get home from work and I want to relax. So I'm going to try and show this to you without setting it off, but you'll see I have it down here against the wall. And when I just put my hand in front of it, I saw the blue light go off. So it should go here. And you'll see, yep, the lights turn on. And then music plays. Alexa, stop. And yeah, then I'm ready to start my nice, relaxing evening.
Thank you for telling the music to stop. It's probably a song that we don't have the rights to play, so I appreciate it. I know you had to cut her off to make that happen. I think, I use the motion detector for smart lights and things like that, and it is a really nice kind of like welcome home routine. I bet Chris has a similar one at his house. That just seems like something he would have. Chris?
That is one way to put it. I have mine tied to my phone. So based on my GPS location, if I come within a certain vicinity of the house, it'll trigger this event and the lights turn on and so on and so forth. But the fun thing I have is I play the Darth Vader theme from Star Wars. So my kids, it's the announcement of my arrival.
They know when Dad's home.
That's right. Darth Vader's home.
I am your father.
That's one way to put it, I guess, for sure. But yeah, that's a fun way to do it. And then one of the unique things I like to do with mine is called this drop-in feature, and it's sort of unique to the Echo items. It acts like an intercom, and so this is actually from my office, and this is from a different room in the house. And I'll just show you real quick. Alexa, drop in the office. And what it's going to do is going to trigger this. And there you go. You can see that different than a phone call or an announcement, it actually turned on the camera right away. And so the idea is if I'm in my office and I hear my young kid screaming in another room, I can check in and see, hey, honey, is everything all right? Rather than a phone call, because if I call and she doesn't pick up, I'm not sure what's going on. So this is actually a really unique feature, and one thing why I love doing this with these devices.
All right, I love it. One of the things, I mean, I think the drop-in feature is really cool. We dropped in on your kids when we were talking about smart cameras. The way to set these up, though, you know, you're talking through your routines. Mark talked us through how he set up his routine. Mark, let's go back to you. How easy or difficult was it to set up a routine like that?
It's actually way easier than you would think it would be. I find it to be super intuitive. Um, you know, you just go into there's a routines section on the app. So you do everything with any of these devices, whether it's Google or Amazon. You go through the app on your phone. Is you can also use your computer, but the easiest way is to just use the app, and you set up a new routine, and you usually have a few options of, you know, every routine needs to be triggered by some sort of input, which, you know, generally that's going to be something that's a voice input, like, you know, turn up the lights or get the theater in movie mode. But in this case, for this one I just used, my input is motion. So I just tell it, hey, when you see motion triggered by this device, do X, Y, and Z, which in my case is turn on the lights and play the music. And it's as easy as that. And I can turn them on or off at any given time. If you ever don't want to use your routine, it's super easy to just switch it off, but keep it saved in your profile to use later.
That is pretty simple. I mean, I have mine set up, and I know, Jamie, you said you had yours set out for Good Morning. So kind of walk us through, you know, you have the Google device that is a little bit different. How does it work for you, you know, setting up and kind of, I don't know, maybe trigger the routine and let us hear it?
Yeah, there's so many things that these virtual smart speakers do that are so surprising. And the Good Morning routine is actually built into all the Google Home speakers, and I'm sure even the Alexa speakers. What I love about having this Google, the Nest Max hub, is the camera. It is able to recognize your face, and it is connected to your Gmail. Like Chris was saying earlier, the integration is great having your Gmail. So it pulls information from your emails, from your calendar, from your contacts. So with the Good Morning routine, you're able to customize what you want Google to relay to start your day while you're having coffee. This is part of our routine in the morning. We'll get up, start the coffee pot, and say, "Hey Google, good morning." And if you notice, she even calls me by my name. Bring up the volume here.
3 degrees and partly cloudy. Today, there'll be isolated thunderstorms with a forecasted high of 83 and a low of 63.
So she runs through this routine.
Your commute to work is currently 13 minutes with light traffic if you take US 31.
I'm guessing that's your I'm guessing that's your old routine, since we are all working from home. We heard one of our favorite team dogs kind of barking in the background because we are working from home. So your commute is no longer.
Yes,
I mean, I think they're really fun.
Yes, I do look forward to needing that information again. But it is nice that she recognizes my face and pulls that information. And I've created it starts with the weather and the commute, then goes into news, and it has news outlets relayed that I have ordered in the way that I'd like them to be relayed, and specific news outlets that I would like to hear from, where my husband will come and take a look at the camera, and it recognizes his face and does a Good Morning routine custom to his settings. So it's really cool. Like I said, it's not a surprising feature. These virtual assistants do so much, and this is something built into all of them. But the personalization, having all of your information in one place, relayed and custom to you, is one of the cooler features with the camera, with the Nest Hub.
Yeah, I use mine in the kitchen a lot. I can actually show you where it is. It's in actually, you know, a pretty easy spot to see. It's just right here, and it's next to my oven. I use it to cook a lot. I use it for recipes, for conversions, for timers a ton. I just baked some bread, and the timers for that really come in handy. I think it's but I also have mine do a good morning and a good night routine. So I can say, okay, Google, good night.
Tomorrow in Nashville, there will be scattered thunderstorms with a high of 80 and a low of 57. There's nothing on your calendar for tomorrow. Good night, Kiki.
And then she turns off my lights and my television, and she turns down my air conditioner to be my desired temperature, because I like it where I can sleep when it's nice and chilly, and it works out pretty well. But we think these a lot of people, we've talked about them being the brains of the home, and we've shown it. A lot of people have questions about compatibility. How do I know it's going to work with my devices? We kind of all run our own ecosystems, but Chris, tell us the importance of like compatibility and integration with these devices.
In the past, a lot of the devices actually were almost like in separate camps as far as compatibility goes. Some devices only worked with certain smart homes, so whether it was Google or Alexa. But nowadays, the compatibility is pretty even across the board, where a lot of products work with all the above. And you can see on a lot of products right now too, at the bottom of the boxes, it'll say compatible with, and you look for an Alexa icon or Google or even Apple HomeKit as well. But one thing that's unique and is continually changing in the market is, these bigger companies like Google and Amazon are acquiring companies like, for example, Google acquired Nest, and now the Google Max with the camera on there can actually double as a security camera that Nest has developed. So you have that technology integrated, which I totally wish I had on my end to use this camera here as a security cam as well, because the security camera is an extra $200, but it's really awesome that they have it folded in. So integration happens on different levels, and compatibility nowadays is pretty even across the board. But definitely look for those icons, those logo icons on the bottom of each of the smart devices.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's definitely more about integration versus compatibility. I think this is a great conversation, and I really appreciate all three of you taking the time out to join me for this Asurion Live. That's kind of all the time we have today. We have a link posted in our comments, so you can get to our website from there. If you have any questions about, or if you want to tell us what your favorite smart device is, post it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. And Mark, Jamie, Chris, thanks again for joining me. That's all the time we have. We'll see you later.